All right. All right. Everybody, welcome. Welcome. It is Tuesday, but it feels like Monday for these broadcasts. Not in a bad way, Monday, but that I'm excited to get back into it. My name is Stuart Davis. I am a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. I'm here to talk about Christianity, give you an introduction if you are curious and looking for meaning in life, and also just discussing Christian issues as it relates to um, things within the church and things outside of the church, current events, everything. And so, welcome to the program. And I am glad to see, look, somebody was waiting for this place to start, for this stream to start a little bit on the early side, but that's fine with me. Good evening, everyone. I'm I'm excited to be here. So, and if you noticed, I did actually follow through with what I was trying to do, starting a stream with giving some people some heads up. So hopefully, the folks who had given me some notice that they weren't getting notifications, maybe they're getting it a little bit sooner now. Maybe they're actually getting it. Like I said, there's not much I can do other than just kind of research the issue. But I don't really have, I don't have as many followers and as much of a viewership count as some of our friends that we know and love, some of our unbreaded friends. But that is what that is. So, welcome to the show. Whether you're catching this live or not, it is a. I got some folks. There's a lot of folks out there on social media who are. They want the Bible to say what they want it to say, right? Or they try to make the Bible into what they want it to say, and that's a. It's not a way to go about it. It's a trap that we can all fall into, and it's nothing that any of us can likely say that we are immune to. Nico has been waiting since 2 hours ago on another another live that never went live. Yeah, wasn't mine, was it? It was another somebody else's live stream. And what I did at first is when I started StreamYards, I had it listed that I was going to be starting, and I accidentally didn't schedule it, so I had to back it out, delete it, and then schedule one. So just takes a little bit of effort on my side. All right, so we're going to continue our readings through with Deuteronomy. Oh, wait, before we get into that, so I have reached out to somebody involved loosely with the Southern Baptist um, Conference, Southern Baptist Conference. Obviously, there's been some stuff going on there that has been troubling, troubling to say the least. And again, this is one. This is one that got. This is one that really reinforces my idea that big churches and big church groups it's just not for me. It is for some people, and I'm not talking. It's just I don't like that hierarchy structure. I don't like. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. Either way you look at it, whether you're very small, very independent church-minded like me, or somebody who's very, who likes having that structure, that infrastructure behind you, that that can help you out. It's just not for me. And when I see that happen, I just kind of feel like, whew, glad I'm not involved with that. Anyway, so I'm reaching out to him, trying to schedule a time for him to come on the show and just basically explain, look, this is what the Southern Baptist Conference is. These are some of the issues that are coming out, and this is kind of what the feeling from the congregations, from the members are, and what he thinks might be the correct solution if the Southern Baptist Conference has been. I've seen some missteps that they've been taken already, but some of that's their problem. Some of that's people just reading into it too much because it's Pride Month, right? Um, that sugar content in their tea is definitely troubling in the SBC. Just saying. Is that a sweet tea? Are you making fun of sweet tea? You do realize small church outside of Richmond, Virginia. I know we're kind of geographically we're mid-Atlantic, but we are the gateway to the South. Sweet tea is a staple, and it is the only way to drink tea. And it has to be brewed with the tea. You don't add it afterwards, and sun brewed. You got to put it out in the sun in the summertime. Put it out in the sun, let it brew. That's the only way to drink tea. Everything else is degenerate. Don't do that, Lauren. Don't do that. Don't make me think less of you. Think less of you when you say unsweet. That's what Yankees do. That's what Yankees drink. They take all the sweetness and the charm and the character of tea and they take it out, and then it's just leaves and water. All right. So anyway, we're getting back into Deuteronomy. We've talked about some stuff. It's going to be kind of this could be a short stream. This might be a longer stream, just depending on how it goes with that. But what we're going to be discussing tonight is first fruits and tithes. This was one of the topics that I knew was going to be a hot button issue, and I've talked about it before because it is something that you hear people talk about a lot, and it's tithing. It's your portion of what your income is, or what you earn, or whatever, what you have, what you've been blessed with, and sharing that with the church, sharing that with God, basically. And this goes all the way back to Genesis. And I'm going to be straightforward with you. I don't tithe like I should. I don't tithe the proper percentage, and I don't tithe as often as I want. It's something, usually it just slips my mind, but at the same time, I could always do better than that. It is a shortcoming that is makes me uncomfortable and makes me feel that I'm not doing something I should be, especially since, again, I'm a deacon. I should be living the standard, and I'm not. And that's what makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable, because they feel pressured into tithing. Sometimes the church can make that uncomfortable. If your pastor is constantly harping on it, it can really put a damper on somebody just trying to get into the word and understanding. So it's important to get it across that we should be tithing, and that we should be giving a portion of our blessings to God in order to, help keep the lights on in the church, help mission statements, help doing all this other stuff. But it's been something that's been really abused at a lot of churches, and sometimes completely unchecked. We can look at Joel Osteen, we can look at Kenneth Copeland, we can look at Creflo Dollar, we can look at a lot of those prosperity preachers, and you can see it. It's not just there; it's in other churches as well. But these are folks who they've made it into an industry, and they're not ashamed. Like they are living right out in the open, just with everything. To me, a pastor doesn't necessarily have to be destitute and homeless, but he shouldn't be living a life of opulence. That's the big thing, That's something that you're living the example. So we'll see how much this comes into play with this chapter tonight. All right, first fruits and tithes. When you have entered the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and have taken possession of it and settled in it, take some of the first fruits of all that you produce from the soil of the land the Lord your God is giving you, and put them in a basket. Then go to the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name, and say to the priest in the office at that time, I declare today to the Lord your God that I have come to the land of the Lord swore to our ancestors to give us. The priest shall take the basket from your hands and set it down in front of the altar of the Lord your God. Then you shall declare before the Lord your God, My father was a wandering Aramean, and he went down to Egypt with a few people and lived there and became a great nation, powerful and numerous. But the Egyptians mistreated us and made us suffer, subjecting us to harsh labor. Then we cried out to the Lord, the God of our ancestors, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our misery, toil, and oppression. So the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm with great terror and with signs and wonders. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now I bring the first fruits of the soil that you, Lord, have given me. Place the basket before the Lord your God and bow down before him. Then you and the Levites and the foreigners residing among you shall rejoice in all the good things the Lord your God has given to you and your household. There you go. That's a lot of memory right there. You come down. I wonder if they're doing it all at once or individually, probably as a group. But this is what it is. You're coming to a gathering. You're bringing the first fruits of your labor. You know, the first crops that you're growing. Going all the way back, like I said, Cain and Abel. Cain or Abel bringing his best of his flock, and Cain bringing some of his produce, but not the best. When you have finished setting aside a tenth, there we go, a tenth of all your produce in the third year, the year of tithe, you shall give it to the Levite, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. Then say to the Lord your God, I have removed from my house the sacred portion, and have given it to the Levite, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, according to all you have commanded. I have not turned aside from your commandments, nor have I forgotten any of them. I have not eaten any of the sacred portion while I was in mourning, nor have I removed any of it while I was unclean, nor have I offered any of it to the dead. I have obeyed the Lord my God. I have done everything you commanded me. Look down from heaven, your holy dwelling place, and bless your people Israel, and the land you have given us, as you promised on oath to our ancestors, a land flowing with milk and honey. So there we go. I mean, it's just kind of cleaning up that stuff right there. Coming down. I've observed the proper procedures in doing this. It's clean. It hasn't been, I haven't done anything I wasn't supposed to with it. And that's where you have it. But we see that part. Finish setting aside a tenth of all your produce. That's where tithing, the 10% tithe number, comes from. We don't really see it changed at all. So that's why the 10% is a sticking point. It would be very nice. Be very nice if that was all the government took from us. But that's different. That type of theft is might be for another discussion. But like that's the response, right? 10% is good enough for God. Why does the government think they need more than that? Because they damn sure will take a lot more. And it ain't just, hey, this is my income. No, they're taxing everything. Like, we'll get back into that. We'll probably have a whole discussion about that when we get into Samuel and the Israelites start demanding a more organized government. Worst thing they ever did. No, that's not the worst thing they ever did, but it was a bad thing. So, all right. So follow the Lord's commandments. The Lord your God commands you this day to follow these decrees and laws. Carefully observe them with all your heart and with all your soul. You've declared this day that the Lord is your God, and that you will walk in obedience to him, that you will keep his decrees, commands, and laws, that you will listen to him. And the Lord has declared this day that you are his people, his treasured possessions, as he promised, and that you are to keep all his commands. He has declared that he will set you in praise, fame, and honor high above all the nations he has made, that you will be a people holy to the Lord your God, as he promised. So we'll see this. I mean, this is a passage. It's not the first time that God has talked about this, but this is a passage that kind of illustrates how much the Lord really cares and wants to honor the Israelites. And I think that this is because God has said this, that to a lot of Israelites, taking what he said only by itself here. And and when he says that, and really let it go to their heads. Oh, well, we're the chosen people. We're the best. We are the people. We're high. We're above the other tribes. They a lot of times it seems like they ignore all the other things that God's talking about. The way you should treat people, the way that you should look out for each other, look out for other people, honor Him, do all these other things. They ignore that a lot of times. They ignore that, and we'll see that throughout the Old Testament. But what they do think is that when they always think that they are separated from God because they what oftentimes seems like they're better than others. But then when things go poorly, they're like, "Oh no, God's abandoned us. Ah, what are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do now?" They completely show no faith, and oftentimes no remorse until they really hit rock bottom, and then God says, "Hey, um, let's get our act together. Let's start doing what God commanded us." Somebody comes around and He rallies them, whether it's Nehemiah or one of the judges, or people like Daniel. Um, we'll see, because there's always somebody there, because there's always righteous people. There's always righteous people to be found. It's not like Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's going to send. But if I start talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, it's going to send me down a whole nother rabbit hole that I'm going to hold off on until next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, Lord willing, and Eric willing, Eric Rollon will be back to continue our series on um, problems at the pulpit, things that preachers and Christian influencers say that are just wrong, mind-bogglingly wrong. But all right, so back to the tithing, because I know it's a personal thing, because what we're talking about here are finances. It's something that's very personal to people. It's your income. It's stuff assumption here, but naturally I assume it's money that you've worked for, that you've earned, that you want to spend the way you want to. And yeah, when you start to ask people, or you start to try to guilt people, like sometimes they do in church, to give that up, it immediately puts a lot of folks, I would say, on the defensive. If this is something, and I don't know how many of you guys have been in these shoes, who immediately when they hear that, church is after my money. I understand that perspective, because again, people will use any type of vehicle to enrich themselves, and some folks have found that that using faith and playing on people's spirituality to enrich themselves is a lucrative business. Again, the Kenneth Copelands, the Joel Osteens, these folks who are wearing, top of the line clothes. They've got private jets. They fly everywhere. Buy my book. Don't keep tithing. Keep sending money to me. I'll pray for you. If you send me money, or if you donate to the church, which really means give to me, in their case, God's gonna bless you with it. God's not transactional. If God was transactional, we would all be in deep doo-doo. Because guess what? We screw up a lot, and it ain't enough amount of money to overcome the things that we do. And God's not interested in money. God understands the reality of currency. You keep the lights on. You need to be able to pay people, like the Levites. They get these residuals. The Levites use that to take care of the tabernacle, to get to get stuff for themselves, to feed them, all this other stuff. He understands that. It doesn't mean it's not a license to mine people's bank accounts for donations so that you can live a life of luxury. That's not what being a minister is all about. Being a minister, more than anything else, more than being a soldier, more than being a police officer, more than being a teacher, more than being all these other civil servant jobs, should be the one where you go in understanding you're going to be giving up the most. You're going to be giving up your time. You're going to be giving up your you're going to be giving up your ability to make good income if if you have a talent or something that you think you could you could translate into a healthy means of income. You're going to be giving up a lot of things. You're going to be giving up a lot of grace too, because the expectations on you as a pastor are going to be that you are held to a higher standard. It is a hard life, and I don't fault anybody from walking away from it, because it can be very difficult. In fact, I think more people stay in longer than they should, or try to stay in more long when they should step down, because they feel like, some for good reasons, some for poor reasons. Some people because they naturally think that they're doing good and that they can, even though they might realize that their place might be somewhere else. And then there's other people who want to grift, or who want that power. It exists, and it is the hardest thing. It is the hardest thing for us as Christians involved in our local church to deal with. So that it reinforces the idea that you need to have a good, solid church culture. A wild weeb. Hello, my friend. How are you doing tonight? I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Nice day. I've got a lot of the stress from a very busy week behind me, both for the stream and professionally. That's all behind me now, and so it's been a very good week so far. So we're only 2 days in right now, but doing pretty good. Hope you're doing as good as well. And then if you want to donate to your local church, you go to that you like. Exactly. This is the thing. There's a lot of people with their hands out asking for money. And when I say that, I mean organizations. Some of them are good, and some of them are bad. Ones that I don't like. Wounded Warriors bothered me. I know Tunnels and Towers. These are some of the big ones. That's a decent one, and these are non-religious ones. The one that I've got the best, that I like the best, and you just hear good things about them overall, is St. Jude's. I mean, obviously sick kids, and they seem to be doing a good job stewarding that money that comes into them. But for me, places I would give, and I do give. We've got a local outreach for homeless. I think I was talking about this before. Local outreach for homeless. We've got my church, pregnancy ministries. People donate to your community. If you're tithing and your money given to God, give it to things ministries that are doing stuff that would make God happy, that would please Him, because that's what it's end up coming down for. Because your church has got its internal finances. You're donating to the church. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they've got money, they've got a budget, and they've got money set aside for the minister, associate minister, music minister, all of the people that work there, the administrators, keeping the lights on, things that I didn't think of before until I got into these budgets. AC units. If you've got a church with any type of size to it, you've got multiple AC units. When those things break, it ain't cheap. I don't know how many of you have been involved with HVAC, but that air conditioner unit starts to get close to 20 years old, and you've got 4, 5, 6 of them things or more. That's a hefty bill. It's a hefty bill. Oh, now the chat's starting to come alive. Dresden says hi. How's it going, Dresden? Tater Monkey, aloha all. Found you via Nick, the homeschooling episode. Welcome, Tater. Hope you stick around. Yeah, that was the big thing. Like I said, Nick's a buddy of mine. We go back We go back several years, um, and glad to have him on to kind of help me out and bring in a lot of good perspective on a topic I know a lot of people are interested in, and that is a lot of times focused on people within the Christian community. So I'm glad to have that on. I know he's got some really good faith takes, and it's not the identity that he's really shot for on his channel. But you know, get him on here and maybe let him let loose. Like I said, we've got some other topics that he's going to come on for in the future, and in the future, and those will probably be a little wilder. Those might be a little wilder. I went to Sick Kids Hospital here in Canada when I was a kid. When I'm able, I want to. I want to donate to them. They are great. Yeah, we got a. It's probably the saddest thing. Sick kids are sad. Terminally ill kids, sad. Even when when their spirits are up. I mean, you can get a lot of inspiration from them, but just seeing it's just like, oh, man. I mean, these kids. I mean, I feel like it's like just, dude. I've been around, almost 4 decades now. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of stuff, dude. Take me instead of one of them kids. Let them live a life that's where they get to experience some things. And, you just hope they get better. And sometimes sometimes the miracle happens, and other times they go and see God. But sooner than we'd like. But that's just one of those things. You're putting money towards them. You're helping the most defenseless. And what we've read, even down here, when we talk about the Old Testament, especially at the beginning, what does God want us to look after? The orphan, the widow, the homeless, the orphan. Right? That's what he's thinking about. He's talking about kids. Anytime you see God referring to kids in that respect, they've got a special place in his heart. So yeah, no, that's. I mean, and then they put the commercials on television, and man, it's hard. Tater, I'm sorry. Glad you've survived a nose. Yeah, well, if you can look at me, I am not one to tell Nick that he has got a big nose. You can tell he's grounded and rooted in the ways, but like his don't give a crap attitude. It's a must when a Christian, true Christian, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I mean he's got a very libertarian aspect. He's got a very hands-off aspect on things. His idea of discipleship is more of by example, and I think he does a good job on the by example part. But he does the very much you do you. And there's a large contingent of people who think that look, the word is out there. The word is out there for anybody to look at, especially with the internet, especially with things like Bible Gateway. And there are missionaries out there. There's plenty of sources out there. So it's not up to me to try to force somebody, and it feels like that to some folks, to force somebody into the faith, or try to scare them into faith or whatever. What I'm going to do is do things the right way, as I see it, as the Bible, as God tells me to do it, and let the chips fall as they may. And there seems to be enough that you can pull out of Scripture in some respect to give that credence. But I feel like, but that was part of the reason when I was thinking about starting this channel, looking at that, I saw there was definitely part of his audience, and I know that's you guys, but not just there, but in other places where people are kind of looking for that community where you can talk about it, and not from a theological standpoint. I've got guys, Christian Mario, another guy coming on called the Other Paul. These guys are theologians. They're kind of armchair theologians. They know their word. They know the word very well. They know, doctrines very well. But I want a more relaxed, casual interaction, casual stream with folks who are very much lay people like myself. We read through the Bible. We talk about how it impacts our daily life. We're not worried about ecumenism or all the other words that go out there that kind of gets in the way, and it causes a lot of more arguments, I think, than not, where people are not really looking for that. You get into a theological debate, that's what you're expecting when you get into it. When we just want to talk about the word, how it affects our daily life, how the word impacts us, it's a much more comfortable place to be. And I think that it's much more fulfilling for the average dudes and dudettes out there, like you and me, to just talk about it, say how this stuff has worked for us. Boom. Get out there. Wild weed. It's heart-wrenching stuff. Yeah. Tater Monkey. Nor my life. I don't, for my life, identify with the Joels and Joyces of the word. Life has been hard, like Saul and Paul. Yeah, you are never going to find me promoting prosperity gospel here. It is one of the worst things in Christian sphere right now. It is awful. Saul Paul, and this is one of the things I've said. Paul's hard for me to get. He is a hard guy for me to relate to, and from where he comes from, for the way he talks and the way he discusses following Christ. It's more difficult for me to get into him than in the gospel, listening, reading Christ's words, reading Peter. Peter, it's easy for me to get into what he says, and John much more. But Paul is the penultimate redemption story. A man who persecuted the very people who were following Christ, persecuting them to their death, doing all these things, and then going from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, where he is the champion. He's the champion of the New Testament after Christ. And that to me that's your signal right there. That, the thief on the cross, some other instances there. Peter denying Christ as well. These are instances where you can understand. Look, you're going to live a life where you are going to do things that you'll be ashamed of, that God doesn't want, that you are going to feel bad about. But it's not too late. It's never too late. That's why the folks who say, I don't want to go to church, I'll just catch in the flames as soon as I walk in. I hate that expression. It's so stupid. Because a lot of times they're saying it in a dismissive fashion. Don't get in. Look, there are people who have walked through that church who are worse than you, or have done worse things than you. Nobody has been struck by lightning or spontaneously combusted. Doesn't happen. It would be in the news all the time, and we would always be scared walking in. And Tater again, as a mother who has had to bury a young adult child for no rhyme or reason, it strangely brought me back closer than I have ever been to God. Until 7 years ago, I believed, but not wholeheartedly. I have a cousin that I was very close to, and he died right before he turned 30. Was not substance abuse related. He had a underlying heart condition that nobody knew about. He got sick one day, didn't feel well. He was living with his mom, kind of helping her out because she lives on her own. And so he had moved in with her, and he was helping her out, told her not feeling well, went to go lay down. She found him a few hours later when he didn't get up when she thought it was. And it was heartbreaking. He was very much a personality force on my mom's side of the family. And he was 5 years younger than me, but we had very similar interests. We both liked to goof off and cause trouble at family functions. So he was kind of my partner in crime when it came to mischief. And I mean, then all of a sudden he was gone. And that was such that sad and abrupt thing. And, you know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And I felt so bad for his mom and dad, because having my kids, and they're very and they're still pretty young, um, have brought or is what brought me to God. Not brought me to God, but really put things into perspective more from God's standpoint to understand why is He as forgiving as He is? Why does He love us so much? Why did He create us to begin with? Create a life, and then you understand. You understand the very beginning of Genesis. Ugh. Um, Tater, I need to be better at reading the Word, but I just know the basics, and I have faith. And I have faith. The rest is the heart, and it will come by actions, not words. Hey, well, if you want to read better, I mean, pop on these live streams. That's what we're doing. And it's interesting. I mean, I've read through it a couple of times, and it's just like reading anything else. You read it more, and or you read it more, and the next time you go through it, you pick up something you didn't know. And that's why I love reading it in order instead of, sermons are great for, talking about a specific topic brought up by some passages. But when you're reading the Word, it's so much better to have it into perspective, because the Bible does kind of go in a sensible order for the most part. Some places it gets a little weird, timeline wise, but for the most part, you understand everything that's kind of been happening. Wild Weed. My mom loves watching Joel Osteen. Anyone else I could tell her to watch? Anyone else I could tell her to watch instead, besides you, of course. I mean, she's still welcome to watch me, but I don't know. I don't know who's on there. I don't trust a lot of people in the spotlight. It's kind of like meeting your heroes. Because we've seen some things. We did. You do a study with your small group or with somebody like Andy Stanley, and then the next thing you know, you see him on Twitter saying something really dumb, and you should show them more grace. The guy from VeggieTales, Phil Vischer, he's an absolute ass about a lot of things that he doesn't need to be about, and then VeggieTales is based, right? It's awesome. It was after my time, but I can still watch it and think it's great. It's yeah, Joel's got that. Joel's a politician. Joel's a politician through and through. You could tell through the smile. You could tell the way by his actions. He's got the face he puts on for the camera. He's got the way he acts as soon as he turns around. And the way he presents. He is just. I mean, you see him. You should be able to see him coming a mile off. But you're not the only one. There's another gentleman on here who's normally part of the chat, and Fig Newton. He's got some issues with some other some family members who watch Joel Osteen really big. Or no, Kenneth Copeland. They're big into Kenneth Copeland, and I don't understand it. I put a picture up on my Twitter page of somebody who was selling a Bible. It had Kevin Copeland's name. That was the big font. Kenneth Copeland's Holy Bible, small print. I mean, if that doesn't sum up the problem right there, there you go. Let's see. Joel makes me cringe. Always has. Yeah. Always has. Nernaeth, Wild Weed, Judge Judy, probably safer. More seriously, I like Greg Laurie and David Jeremiah. I've heard some things. I feel like I've heard good things about David Jeremiah. My only complaint is that they always have the quote gift of the month unquote thing. But once you get to a certain size, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. That's what I said. I don't want a huge channel to do anything other than just talk about God in our lives and in the Christian sphere. Tater, kind of the same. Kim was healthy, a deep believer in Christ, was doing what she was supposed to do, and then and be where she was supposed to be. Aneurysm, poof. Well, now she's where she's supposed to be with God. If she's a believer in Christ, doing what she's supposed to be doing, she's up there waiting on you. Wild Weed, Nernea, thank you for the recommendations. That's the thing. Tater, I think losing her has made me understand the relationship via child father. Plus, if he could lose his only perfect son, why not my daughter? It's not that easy that I get mad at him. But I mean, look, I try not to. That's a personal thing. But there are plenty of instances of good people in the Bible being angry with God and yelling out because you're out of frustration, more less out of anger, but more out of frustration and not understanding why certain things happen like that. You know, you never want to outlive your kids, right? And I'm sorry if we're harping on something, especially for you, Tater, that it's a I know it's a sore. I know it's a sore, and it probably brings up some hard feelings. Uh, and like I said, this is stuff that scares. This is the stuff. This is nightmare fuel for me. Um, but bless you. Bless you for getting through it and keeping your faith through it. And yeah, I mean, he put that's the thing. Imagine taking your kid and you're not doing it for because God is above us. He is beyond our understanding. Like and he's at the top of the food of the existence food chain. And you've got part of you that you're sending down that you know has to be done. It's going to be excruciating pain. It's going to be nothing but sad. It's going to be betrayal by the same people, by the very people you came down there to save. And knowing putting your kid at all through that kind of life. I mean, even you can put them through the 40 days in the wilderness. So if my kids do the same to get me mad, then sooner or later understand. Yeah, yeah, they do. That's the thing. Oh, when you're disciplining your kid, and you tell them that shouldn't be doing that, and then you're sitting there in the back of your head, you're like, I'm doing the same thing to God. Who am I to be talking about that? Um, yeah, Wild Weave. I remember watching VeggieTales in Sunday school. I've caught a couple. Look, every time you see an episode, it's great for kids. It's great for kids. It's much better than Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which is benign. I know there's a lot. I don't trust Disney at all, but there are or have been some pretty benign shows that they've put out that are actually for kids. One that the kids have liked. They haven't watched it in a while because they're getting old. Bluey. Bluey. I think it's an Australian. That show that'll if you're not careful that'll hit you right in the feels real quick because they do things about like kids getting older and how it makes the parents feel and you're sitting there like yeah that's me. um, Greg Locke is straight to the point. Tater while we putting themselves over the Lord, I see the problem. Yeah, oh yeah. Man, I wish I had that picture of High Handy. But yeah, I was. Well, maybe I can pull it up. Maybe let's see. I should have it pretty easy to get on my Facebook page. So I guess maybe this is where I can put my plug. You can follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. Actually, unfortunately, I hate social media. I walked away from it or a couple of years ago, and it was great. Great. Didn't care. I just you know talked to my friends and everything. Told them I was leaving. Got some contact information for the folks that I wanted to still um, be in be in touch with. But yeah, but once I started this YouTube thing, I wanted to have avenues of social media that I could talk about with other. I mean, I could promote the channel, right? If my eyes aren't focused on you guys, I'm sorry. I'm looking on my computer right now. Let me go on here. There we go. Let's see if I can find the pictures. Photos. There we go. Nope. Nope. Ah, here we go. Here it is. Here it is. Let me all right. Oh, anyway, so I was saying about the thing. So, Flawed Man of God, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't hardly do anything on Instagram. I just share Christian memes. Um, and that's it. Where is my, there it is. Y'all see that? That's an asshole move right there. That's going to be a difficult one. That's going to be a difficult one to get on. So, explain that one away. When Jesus goes, what exactly was your reasoning for this? Putting your name over the name of the Bible. They can be. Hold on, I'll get to you in a second here, man. I'm behind. Tater, we did donate our organs, so we did try and make it where others didn't have to. Well, yeah, especially when they're young. Wild Weeb, that's my biggest fear. Dying before my parents pass, I would be extremely worried watching my mother after I pass. I don't know how she'd cope. Yeah, it's difficult. I know it's my dad, especially. It's he makes that. So, quick story: me and my brother, I was in the Army. My brother was in the Marine Corps. We both deployed at the same time, a couple of months apart to the same base. And it's just me and my brother. I've got a half brother. Haven't seen him in years, from previous marriage with my dad. He's just not interested in being part of the family, but that's beside the point. Just me and my brother. My whole life, it's just been me and my brother, my dad and my mom watching me, because I left after him. Me going off. Both of your kids are both at the same place. And this is back in 2005 and 2006 and 2007, right before the surge. It was still very much still very much the Wild West out there, and they were very much afraid. And I know that they were absolutely beside themselves, and that will come into play when we have the bad church conversation episode. That will be it. Heck no, I would not sacrifice myself for the unappreciative assholes we call humans. Sorry for the language. It's okay. We let them fly a little bit around here. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You understand the selflessness behind God throughout the Old Testament, and then after watching all that, after going through all that, you still sent your son down. You still sent your son down, and you know why? Because there's people like Daniel, like Joseph, like David, a man after God's own heart, Moses, people like that, Deborah, like Ruth, people through there that that God knows exist. So mankind is worth sacrificing for. Doesn't make it easy. As a mother, I hope she never has to feel that pain. Remember, it was so bad, God turned his head. He was smart. I watched as she took her last breath. Sometimes I remind him just how kick-ass I am compared to him. Darnath, are they dank memes? They are sometimes. I try not to share. I like a good, clever meme. I don't like to do the what we would consider a normie Christian meme. So yeah. Wild Weep. I'm astonished. I'm assuming that's on the picture, Wild. Yeah, that's bring that back up. That's hey, 50 years in ministry. Jesus is Lord. Yeah, okay. How about the Jesus Word of Faith study Bible? I don't know. There are so many wolves in sheep's clothing that they live feeding off the flock. Yeah. So, and that's what I said. We're gonna get an episode together, and I was talking to my buddy and both him and his wife this weekend. We get together every weekend. And I forgot. I've talked to them about getting them on the program. Him, maybe Raph, because Raph left Catholicism for a bit and then came back. And I walked away from church, not from God, but I walked away from church for a while because I didn't see the point in it because um, a popular church had shown me that they were only interested in clout, it seemed like. Anyway, so getting a discussion about dealing with bad churches and coming back. Um, and my buddy, he went to a church that went through kind of all the stereotypical problems. And it was work that they were doing that was good for the community. Satan will find wherever he can to put corruption. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So you have to be vigilant about it, and you can't make excuses for it. You can't make excuses for it. That's the problem when you get into the things like what the Catholics have been dealing with the priest and child molesting scandal. I know that the statistics are lower than they are than things like public school, but we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and you can't cover that stuff up. You have to see it. You have to address it. You have to move that person on. You cannot be a priest anymore. Not in that respect. You can't be around kids at all. You can go in a monastery. You can't be around that stuff. So, but yeah. And what was I gonna say? Oh, with the Southern Baptists, they're kind of trying to memory hold this as much as possible, even though most of their congregation knows this stuff is going on. So, anyways, all right. Looks like the chat's starting to peter out a little bit too. Also, jokes aside, you guys can pass as relatives. Okay, my spud's got to peel. It's only 3:30 here, so still got to get some work done. Adulting sucks. Well, if you're on Hawaii, you're on the you're definitely several hours ahead. We're several hours behind. My cousin went to school out there on Oahu, and he actually did the thing that a lot of people said, I'm going to be a marine biologist when I grow up, and nobody ever does it. He actually did. Good for him. Yeah, all right, guys. All right, folks. So, hey, we made it almost an hour off of just one chapter. I don't know whether that's progress or just good conversation. I don't really care because we're going to keep going through this. Like I said, we're going to have an episode hopefully this week with talking more about Southern Baptist Convention and those problems, and see if we can't shine a light on it. I'm still trying to get a guy from the Methodist Church to talk about the split from United Methodist Church and the Global Methodist Church. And to me, this time the global side is actually the right one in this case, because the Americans have pretty much screwed the Methodist Church up. So, all right, so got to go to bed now. Get up at 4:30. All right, so all you guys going out tomorrow, I'll be back on tomorrow night. Come in when you can. I am very happy. This has been a week since we did the show with Nick. A lot of you guys have been coming on. I really appreciate you guys coming on and being part of the chat. It makes this thing so much better, so much easier. So Nernath, Wildweed, Hater Monkey, Fig Newton, wherever you are, Dresden, I think I saw you earlier. Yeah, Dresden, Nico. I'll be better about doing my uploads, so I didn't do that. Waiting on me for so long. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Good night, and God bless.